Good afternoon, and welcome to the third session of the Mindfulness series. I'm Lori Higgins. I am one of two chaplains. Justin is out of town, being mindful in Cancun. So we know that he is relaxing there. Just a quick recap, and then I'd like to begin with an exercise. Before we begin, in the event of a fire alarm, please remain in your seats. And should there be a need to evacuate, a staff member will inform us, and remember the red poles where we assemble. I'm going to begin. I'm going to leave this playing, but I'm going to speak as well. I'm going to speak with a basic 2-minute meditation. So we'll begin with a meditation, then I'll have my program in the middle, and then we will end with a loving kindness meditation as well. I thought the scenery was beautiful. And I will say I appreciated how all of you just kind of settled in and appreciated. Not that this was a test, but I was happy to see that you just naturally attended to the video. Let's begin by bringing your attention into your body. You can look downward or close your eyes if that's comfortable to you. You can notice your body seated, feeling the weight of your body on the chair. And let's take a few deep breaths. And as you take a breath, bring in more oxygen, enlivening the body. And as you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. You can notice your feet on the floor. Notice the sensation of your feet touching the floor. You can notice your legs in the chair, the pressure, the heaviness or lightness. Notice your back against the chair where it touches. Bring your attention into your stomach area. And if your stomach is tense or tight, let it soften. Breathe comfortably. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensation in your arms. Let your shoulders be soft. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft and relaxed. Soften your jaw. Let your face and facial muscles be soft. And notice your whole body at present. Take a breath. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. And when you're ready and feel comfortable, you can come back to this space and open your eyes. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie's helping me from the side over here. A quick recap. The first week of the mindfulness session, Dr. Ben Andrews came and talked about the benefits of mindfulness, the physical, the psychological, and as I was preparing for today and revisiting some of my material, I came across many, many studies, and they all say the same thing. We're just beginning to scratch the surface on how beneficial just pausing and being present is for all age groups, for children, for adolescents, for adults, just the effect that it has on your heart and your mind, depression, anxiety. So Dr. Andrews reminded us of that. And then on the second class, Carrie shared with us about the benefits of mindfulness and movement. She talked about yoga. We did an exercise in Tai Chi, and I will admit that was my first time ever doing Tai Chi. But it was wonderful, just connecting and being present. And a reminder of our definitions. Mindfulness is that awareness that arises through paying attention, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. There's a lot in there, and we'll break that down in a moment. And meditation is the practice. Here's some of the tenets of mindfulness. Some list several. My source listed these three. It kind of consolidates some of the other ones. It's having that deliberate awareness, that paying attention on purpose, just being mindful of where you are. And I liked this definition of being non-judgmental, because if you're like me, initially I was unsure of, does that mean being non-judgmental of myself? Does it mean what I'm thinking about? This helped me specify, not seeing things as good or bad or through a filter, but rather seeing things as they are. Just seeing things as they are. Kind of setting aside some of those ingrained beliefs, some of those things that were taught to us, setting that judgment aside. And lastly is being non-reactive. To react is automatic. So just not being judgmental, but not being reactive either. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. I've had experience with mindfulness and meditation throughout my career as a social worker and as a minister. Initially, when I think I was 21, I was doing a social work internship in a rehabilitation facility, not all that dissimilar to here. However, it had an outpatient physical therapy department. And I was tasked at the age of 21 to teach a large group of about 20 men who worked in construction with back injuries, workers' comp gentlemen. I was taught to teach them how to relax. Well, how do you teach men who work in construction how to relax? So needless to say, I began researching, and I came across relaxation exercises. Then I worked in the field of oncology, and they began to practice relaxation in their support groups. Flash forward several years to being a minister, and I had an invitation recently to be part of a clergy health initiative. Clergy, in case you haven't noticed, sometimes they're not very healthy. And Duke has been given a grant or created grants to study this health. And they had exercise programs. They track our steps. They gave us a nutritionist that talked to us every week. And the clergy did really well with their diets and with their exercise. And the part that they struggled with was their mental health and with their stress specifically. So I was part of a 6-week program through the Duke Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction class. And it's John Kabat-Zinn. You'll hear that name. He was kind of the founder of the mindfulness movement. And in doing that, they studied. They are now having all of us go through this. I was kind of in the pilot class. And they've just seen the benefits of how mindfulness has positively affected not only clergy's health, but therefore in turn your health as the clergy serves their congregations. So I was thankful to be a part of that. Where does spirituality and mindfulness intersect? There is an argument, and Justin shared with me this wonderful book, One Breath at a Time, and the subtitle is A Skeptic's Guide to Christian Meditation. So this person was a skeptic, and sometimes Christians are taught, well, you really shouldn't practice meditation or mindfulness because it comes from the Eastern tradition. And the Skeptic's Guide and my own personal belief, if you look back in church history and in all faith traditions, a lot of it is focused on centering prayer, focus, and there's mindfulness translated in different languages. So there's a centering in each of them. This happens to be the term mindfulness. That's the one common thread is the centering and being attentive. So I wanted to just say a word about that because sometimes people question that. But if we look at just paying attention on purpose and intersecting with spirituality, I wanted to come with a couple different ways in which we do that. One is centering prayer. In various faith traditions, there is what they call a sacred pause. We talked about this morning in Staff Chapel. A sacred pause. It's just where you take that moment, not only within yourself, but within whatever spiritual God you believe in. There's gratitude. Gratitude is an act of centering meditation. You've heard that list, I think, of Oprah. Years ago, she had everybody doing their gratitude journal, and you write down 3 things at the end of the day for which you are thankful. Gratitude is a form of centering. It's reflecting and being mindful for that which you are thankful. Those personal growth challenges. What are your intentions? We hear about intentions for your day. Kids of this next generation have what's called their visioning board. Have you heard of visioning boards? We used to call them collages, and it's what our teachers used to give us something to do when they didn't have anything for us to do. We'd take magazines and cut out pictures and paste things that we like. Well, now a lot of corporations, a lot of people of this next generation have visioning boards. What are your hopes? That's a type of mindfulness. Another form of mindfulness in terms of spirituality, a spiritual practice, in addition to prayer, is Lectio Divina. It's where you take a scripture or a passage that is meaningful to you, and there's 4 steps. One, you read it. You read the same scripture over and over. This morning, as a deer longs for water, so my soul longs for you. That's Psalm that comes up. You read a scripture or a passage, and then you meditate on it. Then you read it again. What stands out to you? What's being said to you? What are you seeking? Initially, it's whatever speaks to you in this moment. What stands out to you? Let the word or phrase that stood out to you become your invitation to be in relationship with the God that you believe in. Allow the word or phrase to wash over you and permeate your thoughts and feelings. And then, as you read the scripture or the text a 3rd time, you listen. So often, we come to prayer with our own wants or needs. How often do we just sit and listen? Mindfulness and that contemplation step, is where you listen. What gift have you been given in this word? What action might you be being called to? And then again, you end with gratitude. I want to allow time for our last exercise. There are different types of meditations. Those are the main 2 spiritual practices. There's the breathing prayer, which we did initially. We talked about just focusing on your breathing. There's the centering. There's the Lectio Divina. There's walking meditations. I know Carrie referenced that last week as well. There's Lectio Divina. And then the last one is what's called a loving kindness meditation. And we'll do that towards the end of our session. We'll end with that. But loving kindness is a common thread as well. That loving kindness not only towards yourself, but to others. And you can wish this, you can be mindful or meditate not only about yourself, but also about those around you, your family, your friends. I don't have that slide. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Cultivating kindness towards yourself. I think sometimes we find it easier to be kind to others than we are ourselves. I think we're hardest on ourselves. Cultivating kindness towards friends and family. Cultivating kindness towards strangers. I'll be honest with you, I did this slide after coming in during rush hour traffic. And let's just say I didn't cultivate kindness toward my strangers. The strangers driving near me on I-40. And maybe that fits into stage 4, which is cultivating kindness towards a difficult person. Cultivating kindness towards all beings. I do have, it's several minutes, but we'll do a loving kindness meditation. On the very first class, and I have some more copies, I don't have them here for some reason, they might be in my folder. There's a list of resources. Some of the mindfulness-based classes are a little bit expensive, and some of the mindfulness-based apps there is a fee associated with. Probably the best free resource that I found is through UCLA. And it is similar to Duke's mindfulness-based stress reduction. And they have a lot of free guided meditations, not only that you can listen to, but if it's helpful to print them out. I have the UCLA app on my phone, and there's no charge with that, so that's just a helpful one as well. But we'll take a moment, we'll pause for a moment, and go back to our... This is about 11 minutes long. I don't know if I can put I might be able to show the pictures again too. We'll see. But let's just sit and enjoy this meditation.
Is to cultivate kindness and compassion for ourselves and others. Begin the meditation by letting yourself bring to mind someone in your life who makes you happy. Someone whom when you think of them, you get happy. This could be a child or a relative. It could be your best friend, a teacher. It doesn't even have to be a human. Feel free to bring to mind a pet. And have a sense of them in front of you. See them, sense them, feel them. As you bring them to mind, notice what happens inside you. It's likely there's a feeling of warmth. Maybe there's a sense of spaciousness. A smile might come to your lips. This is the quality of loving kindness that can be cultivated through the practice you'll be learning today. Having this person in front of you or animal in front of you, begin sending them thoughts of well-being, wishing them well, wishing them happiness and ease. And you can use my words or use your own. You can say in your mind, may you be safe and protected. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. May you be at ease. May you be happy and peaceful in spite of circumstances. May you find comfort and ease. As you say these phrases, you can imagine sending them towards your loved one. And imagine that it impacts them, that it affects them. And notice how you feel as you consider the possibility of sending this kindness to this loved one. Then imagine that this loved one turns around and sends it back to you. See if you can be on the receiving end. And as you're doing this, you may get very creative. There may be images or colors or light. All of this is absolutely fine. Let whatever happens be there. Imagine that this loved one turns around and says, may you be safe and protected. May you be free from your suffering. May your suffering be eased. May you find peace and well-being even in the midst of challenging circumstances. May you find joy. And see if you can let in these wishes, using my words or whatever words speak to you, inviting this possibility of kindness and compassion coming to touch you, to be with you now. May you be safe and protected. May you find comfort. May you find peace amidst changing and sometimes difficult circumstances. May you be at ease. If you wish, you can try to send it to yourself and see what happens. Continuing on with the phrases, or simply allowing this loved one to send it back to you. You might imagine the sense of kindness coming down your body, touching your heart and mind and body. You might imagine them sending it to you, wishing you yourself ease and well-being. May I be safe and protected. May I be happy and peaceful, even in the midst of difficult circumstances. May I have relief from my suffering. May I be at ease. And let the feeling of kindness permeate your body. Really invite it in, let it be here. If at any point you're not feeling the kindness, or you're feeling something other than kindness, you can always say, for whatever it is I'm feeling, may I hold this too with kindness. For whatever it is I'm feeling right now, may I hold this too with kindness. And see who you feel drawn to sending this kindness to. It may be to continue with yourself, or to the loved one, or it may be to send it out to others here in this hospital, wishing others well. Or it may be to dear friends or family members, to whoever your heart is drawn. May you be safe and protected. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be free from suffering and pain. May you find comfort and well-being and ease. May we all be at ease. And then imagine that this kindness and compassion, this desire to ease another's suffering and your own, imagine that it comes and begins to spread throughout the hospital, touching everyone, patients, family members, staff, so that we're all bathed in this sense of ease and well-being, that each person is touched by kindness and compassion. We are not alone. each of us experiences suffering in some way. And we can all wish for the alleviation of this suffering. So imagining like the rays of the sun radiating out from you towards everyone. And that includes yourself. May we be safe and protected. May we be happy and peaceful, even in the midst of difficult circumstances. May we find comfort and well-being. May we be at ease. And now bring your attention back into your own body and heart and mind, letting things be as they are, letting yourself connect and stay present in the midst of love and compassion.
So that was a sample of loving kindness. And I thought that would be helpful. So not only do we focus on breathing meditations and the physical kind, this is one that involves that attention on others. I thought that would be helpful. Lastly, before we end today, we might end a little bit early, I wanted to talk about practice. And how do you begin a practice of mindfulness? And the book here has some suggestions. If history and experience teach you that meditation improves your daily life, and how can you name those obstacles that prevent you from practicing? I believe it takes 6 weeks to develop a habit. 6 weeks to develop a practice, and Carrie can attest to this, and I can speak from personal experience. Even beginning exercise. If we think of this as exercising our mind, nourishing our mind, we nourish our stomachs, our health, and we nourish our physical bodies. But if we think of mindfulness as nourishing our mind, how do we incorporate that into our daily practices, our daily habits, so to say? I know my daughter set my watch to be mindful 3 times a day, in the morning, afternoon, and evening. I can't tell you how many times I just swipe it off. I don't have time to be mindful. And I like the way they said this. Where is it? Okay, here we go. We can remember that the mind, which we are harnessing to focus its attention, so we're harnessing our mind, is like a toddler or teenager. It's stubborn, restless, tantrum-prone, irritable, and uncooperative. So we must nurture our minds as we would children, giving them love, limits, and consistency. So often we think, this should be easy. I can pay attention to a television show or a movie for 2 hours. Why can't I pay attention for a longer amount of time? Now, for me personally, I don't know about you, but I have lists. I have lists that run through my mind constantly. The grocery list, what's for dinner, the kids, my daughter's coming home this weekend, all the lists. I know Carrie's in that stage of life where there's those lists. And so to be mindful, I have to literally imagine, those stanchions at the bank or in a line? I have to literally imagine a stanchion and hold all those other thoughts back behind something. Because they'll creep in, and we're being kind to ourselves and loving kindness. The thought might bubble up, see it as a bubble, put it back behind the stanchion, and then bring your attention to your breathing or whatever it is that you're focusing on. If it's loving kindness, if it's a breath prayer, if it's a prayer, if it's a scripture. So it's that paying attention, those developing the habits. And I think it's important to say that the book recommended this also, that a day of trying to meditate or be mindful is better than a day where you don't even try at all. A day of poor mindfulness is better than no mindfulness at all. So even if you're trying, it's like those muscles. It takes a while to get it into shape, and it becomes a practice. When do you do that? Do you listen to a meditation in the morning? Do you listen to a gratitude devotion or read a gratitude devotion at night? One of the things Carrie and I are going to work on after these sessions are over is, how on 1341 we have exercise classes. Well, our goal is to put 3 mindfulness sessions on there, morning, midday, and evening. So you can turn that on 1341, and there's somebody guiding you to help us all with this practice, because I think the benefits are so great that we can't not attempt to do that. How do you begin to have mindfulness as a way of life? And I think the author here was really helpful in saying that no matter when or why we begin our practice, in times of grief, after a health crisis, because of advice from a friend or a community, meditation offers us the opportunity to rediscover ourselves in a different way. And as we practice our faith, to be in relationship with the God that we believe in. It's about relationship. It's not another to-do. Sometimes we might think of, I'm supposed to be being mindful. I'm supposed to be. It's not another to-do or a task to be added to our daily list, but hopefully it can become a way of life. It's just that paying attention, noticing the temperature of the room, noticing your breathing. Whenever you start to feel something, stressed or down, just focus on your breathing so that you're not being reactive and you're not judging as well. When we begin with listening and experiencing each day, we realign ourselves. We realign ourselves, not only internally, but in relationship with our faith as well. This is a new way that it doesn't require a total upheaval or remodel or demolition. It simply starts with a beginner's mind longing to connect not only with ourselves, but with the God we believe in and with each other, one breath at a time. I thought that was an interesting way. I wondered, I know, Carrie, I'm pretty much done with the spirituality component, but I wondered, Carrie, if you wanted to open it for questions, being that we've had 3 sessions and just wanted to see your thoughts and if there were any questions out there. Any questions? I don't have any handouts. The handout I gave out at the first session, but I have some copies of those as well. So I'm thinking, are our slides going to be on the portal? Yes, all of the slides will be on the portal. And the link, I think the most helpful thing is the link to the resources, because I think that will be helpful. And then when we put our programs on 1341, when we put a morning mindfulness, a midday mindfulness, and an evening practice, I think that will be helpful as well. Barbara.
Yeah, I had a question for Carrie. Is the Friday yoga class, does that have meditation in it?
The question was, does the Friday yoga class have meditation? Yes. So right now Chris is teaching both yoga classes. Her style of teaching, her yoga form, is typically more of a meditative form. So some prefer more of a strenuous yoga, really getting into the postures and the strength, but Chris's is more of a mindful, meditative, really focusing on feeling the body, the breath. You do postures and stretches and movements, but I would say it's more meditative than Kathy's class was.
Yeah, I would be interested in a class, but an hour is, talk about attention span, an hour is a bit long for me. Is there any thought to maybe me having a shorter?
I'll check with her. I don't know if she's been doing a full hour or 45 minutes, so I will confirm the length of the yoga class. But don't feel bad if you come, and then if you want to get up and leave, that's fine. We're not going to judge you, or, as long as we know you're leaving, you're healthy. That's usually, we worry if someone's not feeling okay if they leave, but it's okay to leave early.
Thank you. What time is it on Friday?
10:15.
What?
10:15, and if you forget, it's in your Friday is at North Village, here in the Great Room. And in the back of your monthly booklet, there's a chart every month with all the classes. And you can always call us with questions. That's okay.
They're all wonderful questions. Other thoughts or questions? Ruth.
Was it mentioned about Monday?
There is a centering prayer group that meets on Mondays in the chapel. And that's more of a resident-led for people who are a little bit more experienced in centering prayer. They come together and center for about 25 minutes and then have a prayer afterwards. So there is a centering prayer group here on campus. Other thoughts or questions? I'm going to read the three. I'm going to go back to the slide because I think the components of mindfulness are important to review. Having deliberate awareness. If you're like me and you're wanting to do it right, the author in the book, and I've heard so many writers, faith-based writers, speak about so often we don't pray or we aren't mindful because we're not doing it. We fear doing it wrong. We fear not doing it correctly. And I think we ought to be careful not to do the same with mindfulness. It's paying attention on purpose and trying not to be judgmental. It's really hard to be non-judgmental because we have these decades-long thoughts in our mind. And that's a training. Again, that's the practice. And then being non-reactive. Almost being proactive instead of being reactive. So and there again, sometimes we've developed years and years of bad habits. I know my one brother, you think of your families, my one brother can make me madder than anybody. And you just have that habit. Well, I'm used to being annoyed with him. Well, how do you stop that? How do you stop those old bad habits? Or if this, we're used to these, we've developed bad habits. We've had one bad experience with a person, therefore we put people or things in a box. So this is kind of reminding us, okay, pay attention to where everything is in this moment. And I will say, it's helpful in that. It helps you be less judgmental, helps you to be more open to people, to things, ideas. I think that's important, especially now when we become so polarized. How do we just simply paying awareness, or rushing? How many times do you eat standing up? I have a friend, she called them her sink dinners. The kids were rushing and they'd eat dinner over the sink. That's not mindful eating. That's just kind of rushing. How are you mindful? I catch myself. Oh, I'm not going to stand and eat. How do you not? Carrie and I both eat breakfast in the car on the way here. But even then, how are you mindful? How do you listen to a devotion? There's a lot of devotions out there. So there's, as the author says, any attempt at mindfulness is just that trying to train your mind, to nourish your mind in a thoughtful way. I wanted to close with a breathing meditation. Are there any other questions?
For me, it helps to have a designated place. It may be a church, but it may also be where we do yoga or Tai Chi. Or right now, when I take my walk, I sit on the dam for mindfulness. And so, to me, a place is a reminder.
That's a wonderful, thank you, Mid. That's a wonderful thought. Mid shared that for him it's important to have a place. That place, if he's out walking, sometimes it's church, sometimes it's a special chair. I have a friend who has her mother's chair and she sits in her late mother's chair and she just feels more connected in that place. That space is important as well. I think that's important. Thanks, Mid.
Yeah,
Yes, Barbara.
I would agree. When I open my drapes in the morning, I go, hello, world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sit down, and sometimes I do gratitude, sometimes I do a prayer, or I do not always the same thing, but that is a time when I
A space and time.
start my day. I
It-
have that space,
it-
and it's like seeing
Yeah.
this world.
As you open your blinds, in the morning, saying, "Good morning, world," gratitude, a morning prayer. A lot of people journal. It's those creating those habits, or is it as you turn out the light at night? I was thinking, as you said that, Barbara, as you open your drapes each morning or your blinds, maybe as you close your lights each evening as well, just focusing your attention and gratitude and being mindful. Well, we'll close with a breathing meditation that's a few minutes long. Again, I know we've had 3 this time, but I think it's helpful. The first one was the body scan. And again, these are all from the UCLA mindfulness site. The second one was the loving kindness. And this one is just very simple. It's breathing. I thought we'd end with a simple one. Again, find a relaxed and comfortable position. Keep your back upright, but not too tight. Your hands resting wherever they're comfortable. And you can notice your body from the inside. The weight, the touch, being mindful of relaxing. You can become curious, seated here, the sensations, the connection you have with where you're sitting. And relax any areas of tightness or tension. Your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your tongue. And as you soften your body, just breathe. And begin to tune into your breath. Feeling the natural flow of breath. You don't need to do anything to your breath. Not long, not short, just natural. Notice where you feel your breath in your body. It might be in your abdomen. It might be in your chest or throat, or in your nostrils. See if you can feel the sensations of breath, one breath at a time. When one breath ends, the next breath begins. Now, as you do this, you might notice that your mind might start to wander. You might start thinking about other things. If this happens, this is not a problem. It's very natural. Just notice that your mind has wandered, and you can say thinking or wandering in your head softly, and then gently redirect your attention back to the breathing. So we'll stay focusing on our breathing, directing our attention on our breathing for about a minute. Just a short time noticing our breath. From time to time getting lost in thought and returning to our breath. And see if you can be kind to yourself in the process. Once again, you can notice your body, your whole body, and allow yourself to relax even more deeply. Aware of your breathing. And offer yourself appreciation for doing this practice today. Whatever that means to you. Finding a sense of ease and well-being for yourself. And when you are ready, you can bring your attention back to the room as we conclude our program. Are there any final thoughts or comments? I want to say thank you to Carrie, and we've thanked Dr. Andrews again. We hope to continue to offer mindfulness programs. I think this is the beginning. I know we'll probably do another one at least in the new year, if not sooner. And like I said, feel free to check the portal. All of the sessions will be uploaded on, the first two are already uploaded on the portal, and this one will be uploaded as well. And if you have any questions, you know where we are, and thank you.